Hey YouTube, how you going? I've got a great video coming up on the various types of shoes to wear at World's Toughest Mudder. I did it on the weekend, but I just wanted to put this short message beforehand to say that I am running a very brief fundraising campaign to help get me across to the Spartan Race World Championships in America. It's going to be a pretty bare bones trip. I'm literally flying there to compete and staying with some family, friends and that kind of thing to keep the cost down. But if you have gotten any benefit out of any of my videos and do have a couple of dollars you can throw my way, I would really much appreciate it. There'll be a link down below. If you don't know, completely cool. Hope you enjoy the video and I'll see you shortly. Hey YouTube, how you going? Just wanted to do another video on the various shoe options for World's Toughest Mudder. Now, there's probably 3 styles of shoes that you can wear, and I've got 2 of those styles with me. But I'll also comment on the 3rd style. I'll try and cover the benefits and the downsides of each brand or each style of shoe. And within each style, obviously, there is different brands and that kind of thing. So I think to start off with, I'll cover a shoe that a lot of you are familiar with. It's the Inov-8 X-Talon 190. They obviously have a couple of other different shoes that follow a similar concept in being quite minimal, a lightweight shoe, and obviously with some form of grip or traction on the bottom. I did wear these for 1 lap during World's Toughest Mudder last year, and I have worn them in other obstacle races since. So I thought I'd offer my kind of thoughts on this shoe. I also believe Juyong Pak wore these last year, so obviously they do work for some people. Now, the benefits of this shoe are primarily that A, it's lightweight, B, it drains very well, and because of that, it doesn't hold a lot of mud or water or anything like that. It also does have good grip, which is good for times where the course is quite muddy, or if you're trying to get in and out of mud mile, obstacles like that. The downside of this shoe, this isn't something that I've found personally, but I have heard from a lot of people that sometimes the laces come undone very easily. Obviously, you can work around that by changing laces or putting different laces in. The main thing that I don't like about this shoe is that it is a very aggressive tread. So some people are saying, what do you mean? Obviously that's a benefit. You can, run through mud and you won't slip over. In saying that, I didn't slip over in normal shoes either. But the downside of this was I wore these, I think it must have been on lap 3. I can't remember, lap 3 or 4. And by that, it must have been lap 4 because it was icy. And on the wooden kind of ladder structure, I've forgotten the name of the obstacle off the top of my head, it was very icy. And this, trying to climb on that was atrocious. I literally nearly fell off, and I was glad that they'd actually closed the top rung, because I just couldn't, because of the, these things, my foot couldn't sit on the wooden beam flush, which would then obviously give me stability to climb over. I also found on obstacles like Everest that it was a lot more challenging to run up a smooth ramp when you're essentially wearing a shoe that looks somewhat like a football boot, with so many studs and knobbles and everything like that. The other downside, I think, is that people who are maybe newer to obstacle racing, they hear about, Inov-8, you've got to wear these minimalist shoes, they're super lightweight, they're super fast, but they're very minimal. So unless you're training consistently in these, they're probably not going to be ideal for an ultra-endurance race. To run for 24 hours in these is a lot more demanding on your body than running 24 hours in a trail shoe or 24 hours in a sneaker, in my opinion. And I'm sure that some people would back me up on that. So I think that, A, if you're going to wear these, obviously you should be training in them. And B, if you've seen shoes like this and think that you definitely must wear them to be competitive in a race, because you've seen guys like Juyong Pak wear them, or even guys in the Spartan Race series, don't feel that that's the case. Now, when do I wear these shoes? Not very often, to be honest. I run most of my obstacle races in a standard sneaker. I know that's very different to a lot of people, I've previously, last year at World's Toughest Mudder, I had some knee injuries. I've gotten on top of those, touch wood, that it stays that way. And probably in the future, I'm going to look to transition away from my standard sneaker to something that's more like a trail shoe, but not something super minimal like this. As I said though, I have worn Inov-8s in obstacle races since. And I would recommend, if you've already got a pair, taking them with you to World's Toughest Mudder, because you don't know what the conditions are going to be like on that day. Let me explain. I was doing a recent race here in Australia called the Tough Bloke Challenge. I put both my normal runners and the Inov-8s in my bag because that whole day and a couple of days beforehand, it had just been pissing down with rain. Absolutely torrential rain. And I know a lot of obstacle races market themselves as being, you know, super muddy and everything like that. But the fact of the matter is, most of the time, the trails and everything like that are dry. And you're only really getting muddy when you jump in muddy water or crawl through a mud pit or do something like the mud mile. The rest of the time, the ground, it's not like you're running on mud 24/7 kind of thing. But at this Tough Bloke Challenge race, the course was just atrocious. It was up and down. It was quite a hilly course, so all the water was running downhill, you know, and creating all these like little gullies, and it was really slippery. And you know, just literally walking from the car to the tent to register, you know, my feet, like the mud was literally coming halfway up my foot. So I decided in that instance to wear Inov-8, because I knew that the grip I would get from these would be more beneficial than any time I lost struggling on a few of those obstacles, like I mentioned, if they had something similar to an Everest or something similar to, you know, a wall to climb over that was made out of timber slats. And that's why I'd also chuck that in your World's Toughest Mudder gear if you already have it. I wouldn't necessarily go out and buy it specifically unless you could pick up a cheap pair on eBay or something. But you never know. You could get to World's Toughest Mudder and it could be just torrential rain, in which case the grip you get from this is going to far outweigh any downside that you face, as I said, on obstacles like I said, on Everest and that kind of thing. Second style of shoe that I want to cover. This is the complete opposite end of the spectrum, and that's just your classic standard sneaker. This is a Nike Lunar Eclipse. Last year, this is a new model. It's the Lunar Eclipse 3. Last year, I bought 3 pairs of Lunar Eclipse 2, and I took those to World's Toughest Mudder. One pair I already had, and then I got like a 2-for-1 deal at this discount place. So I took all 3, just so I could change them if I needed to, which I did. And also that way you can kind of have one, you know, to train in beforehand, and then have 2 for the event, or whatever the case may be. Now, I chose to wear these shoes for a number of reasons. A, because it was a 24-hour event, and running for 24 hours places a lot of demand on your body. 2, because I had those reoccurring or knee injuries in the past, and this shoe does provide a little bit more stability. And that's pretty much the reason why I wore them. Now, the benefits of a shoe like this are obviously that it does offer a bit more support and cushioning. So when you are running for 24 hours, the impact and the repetitive nature isn't going to be as demanding on your foot. The downside, however, is that they're obviously designed for running just, you know, normal dry weather. So they do hold water a little bit more, and they do hold, you know, the mud and everything like that. With that said, though, I didn't find that the additional weight of the shoe slowed me down that much. I think that it's obviously more the nature of running. Like, the course is, you know, although it's an obstacle race, you are running for a long period of time. So I think the benefit of having a shoe that I was comfortable running in outweighed the slight downside that I got with the shoe from it being slightly heavier with the water and the mud and everything like that. And I think that's one of the major things. When you go into a race like World's Toughest Mudder, you have to have confidence in your gear. I didn't have confidence to run 24 hours in the Inov-8. I had confidence that I could run in a shoe that I was familiar with. That's why I went with this shoe. So obviously you don't have to go with the Nike Lunar Eclipse if you're comfortable running in an Adidas or whatever the case may be. Maybe that is the shoe for you. The reason why I'm saying this is I don't want people to get swayed by all these images that they see and if they've been running in a shoe like this and they think, oh, I've got to run in Inov-8, or I've got to run in a really minimalist shoe to win or be competitive. That's not the case. Well, I don't believe it to be so. That said, now that I've gotten on top of my running injuries and become a better runner with the help of my coach, I don't think this is a shoe that I'd necessarily wear if I was going to World's Toughest Mudder again, or when I go again. What I would look to do is get a trail shoe that, in a way, I guess, is a cross between your sneaker and something that is a little bit more minimal. I don't have a particular preference for brands. I've spoken to a lot of guys in the Obstacle Course Racing League here in Australia, and I've seen some of their shoes. And essentially, because they're a trail shoe, they're designed so that they obviously still have more support than something as minimalist, but they maybe don't have as much like padding and foam and material that can soak up water. And on top of that, although they may have a bit of cushioning in the sole, definitely more so than an Inov-8, they don't have such an aggressive tread. Like, that's pretty aggressive. I mean, you might not be able to see it on the video so much, but these knobbles are probably at least half a centimetre, if not slightly more. And a lot of the trail running shoes that I've seen have essentially, maybe some of them even have a similar pattern to this, but they're just slightly higher. Some of them have a more like ripple effect. So the tread that they provide is better than this, but not as aggressive as this. And I think that halfway level may be the best of both worlds. Obviously, it will provide more traction in the muddier sections of the course, but then not be so over the top with studs and knobbles and stuff like that, that going up a smooth surface like Everest, going across the balance beam or something like that is going to be challenging. And I think with World's Toughest Mudder now just announcing on their website that they've done the rule changes and that there's going to be a burn zone, which sounds very similar to like doing the 30 burpees at a Spartan race if you fail an obstacle. Not failing an obstacle is going to be a lot more important this year. So if you fell off on a balance beam because of these, it's going to take you a lot longer to do those 30 burpees, 30 push-ups, 30 pull-ups, whatever it is that they're going to get you to do, compared to if you wore a shoe that maybe was better suited to not getting, better suited to kind of having a more even footing, is what I'm trying to say. So that's just my opinion, guys. There's obviously people who will be completely for the Inov-8s. And look, I agree that there are people who can run very well in them. I guess the purpose of this video is to say, don't just be swayed to go this one route if you haven't been running in them a lot before. And also consider the other options of a more trail running shoe that kind of offers a combination of something that's a little bit more minimalist, but also still has some of the supporting features of a standard sneaker. And above all, run in something that you're comfortable in. Thanks for watching, guys. Please comment below if you have any questions, and I'll see you next video.